Hillary Clinton, you have but two choices left, Trey Gowdy or Anonymous. One will call stalemate, the other will call checkmate. In either case, you are history.
Hillary is finished. Yes, a new video has been released that actually catches Hillary Clinton and MSNBC red-handed. Now, Paris Swade for Liberty Writers News reports that the newest WikiLeaks release proves just how fake Hillary Clinton is and how the media is helping her get away with political fakery, deceiving the American people. Now, they write that the bombshell release reveals an email chain that shows collusion with MSNBC's Chris Hayes, and he never discloses to the public that the entire interview is staged. But that's not the least of it. What you are about to witness is the most extreme form of political theater, deception. Hillary reading off of a script that is then passed off to the public as spontaneous answers. Take a look.
Hillary Clinton is expanding her efforts to challenge Bernie Sanders on his signature issue, that would be economic inequality. I got a chance to speak earlier with Secretary Clinton, who joined me by phone from Iowa. We discussed everything from the electability question to what Bernie Sanders said today about her campaign. But I started by asking about her proposed tax hikes for the highest earners.
You know, Chris, right now the super wealthy and big corporations are using every trick in the book to game the system to avoid paying billions of dollars in taxes, and that's just not right. So today I am proposing adding what I'm calling a new fair share surcharge on multimillionaires and closing loopholes to make it harder to game the system. I'm also pushing for the Buffett rule, which sets a minimum rate for those at the top, and other reforms like closing the carried interest loophole that allows some hedge fund managers to pay a lower rate than teachers or nurses. I'm proposing every idea I can, finally, to make those at the top actually pay their fair share.
Nearly word for word. Now ask yourself this question. How could she have possibly had the answers ready if MSNBC's Chris Hayes didn't provide the questions in advance of the interview? Well, the answer is in black and white. Clinton and MSNBC colluded and lied to their own viewers and the American people at large. Let's take a look at it one more time.
Hillary Clinton is expanding her efforts to challenge Bernie Sanders on his signature issue, that would be economic inequality. I got a chance to speak earlier with Secretary Clinton, who joined me by phone from Iowa. We discussed everything from the electability question to what Bernie Sanders said today about her campaign. But I started by asking about her proposed tax hikes for the highest earners.
You know, Chris, right now the super wealthy and big corporations are using every trick in the book to game the system to avoid paying billions of dollars in taxes, and that's just not right. So today I am proposing adding what I'm calling a new fair share surcharge on multimillionaires and closing loopholes to make it harder to game the system. I'm also pushing for the Buffett rule, which sets a minimum rate for those at the top, and other reforms like closing the carried interest loophole that allows some hedge fund managers to pay a lower rate than teachers or nurses. I'm proposing every idea I can, finally, to make those at the top actually pay their fair share.
Despicable. Absolutely despicable. Never in my years of covering elections have I seen such blatant manipulation of the masses to advance a political career of a politician. Now, there was an example during the last election cycle where we noticed whenever Ron Paul would win a straw poll, that they would actually, they used footage from a previous year where he got booed, where when we were actually there, we heard cheers. So they flip-flopped the audio, or the flip-flopped the video, which made Ron Paul look bad. So we've seen this before, but never on this level. Never on this level. So go to the read more link in the description if you want to dive deeper and read the actual email that's talking about how Hillary was given the questions by Chris Hayes at MSNBC. It is absolutely disgusting. Everyone in the corporate media is working with Hillary, for Hillary, and it's just one more reason that Next News exists, to combat the lies and deception being perpetrated against the American people for Hillary Clinton. Do your part in this momentous election season by revealing this to the American people simply by using the power of your finger by hitting share. We appreciate that, and I know that all the people who are fighting for liberty in America appreciate it as well. So comment below, what are your thoughts on this grand deception, MSNBC working with Hillary Clinton, and the new revelation in this epic data drop from WikiLeaks. So comment below on that. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up, and if you're new to the network here, go ahead, consider becoming a subscriber, and when you do, hit that little bell, and you'll be notified when we upload breaking news and through our standard reports as well. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
When you speak to the public, you say, I turned over everything. That's, for the most part, a direct quote. When you talk to the public, you say, I turned over everything.
That's for the, people investigating it to try to figure out. But we turned over everything that was work-related. Every single thing. 90 to 95% of my work-related emails were in the state system. If they wanted to see them, they would certainly have been able to do so.
You know what? That is maybe the 10th time you have cited that figure today.
It is.
And I have not heard anyone other than you ever cite that figure. Who told you that 90 to 95% of your emails were in the State Department system? Who told you that?
We learned that from the State Department in their analysis of the emails that were already on the system.
The Inspector General report found that less than 1% of State Department emails, record emails, were captured. So they give a number of less than 1%, and you give a number of 90%.
This pile represents the emails that you sent or received about Libya in 2011, from February through December of 2011. This pile represents the emails you sent or received from early 2012 until the day of the attack. There are 795 emails in this pile. We've counted them. There are 67 emails in this pile in 2012. And I'm troubled by what I see here.
This is a Fox News alert. A State Department briefing underway, responding to questions about ties with the Clinton Foundation. This as we learn of another crack in the dam for Hillary Clinton. Let's listen.
Evidence of the way the process works, and in that, any Secretary of State has aides who are getting emails or contacts by a broad range of individuals and organizations.
So as far as you're concerned, what these emails, like the ones that just were released today, don't show anything new? This is old news. You guys have already looked into this and decided that there wasn't any problem?
I mean, of course, we're always assessing new emails as they come in, so I don't want to make it look like we just disregarded this. I think that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, go ahead and finish.
No, I just said we'll always assess new emails as they come in, but
these aren't new emails.
I understand that.
But I mean, you guys, you're confident, or you know, that the emails that were released today have been looked at by people whose job it is to look into these things and decide whether or not there was a violation or an appearance.
Yes, that is my understanding. Yes.
And nothing.
Again, I stand by what I just said, which is that there was no. Yeah.
How do you address the inference? James, the inference that is left in Judicial Watch's statements on this, that meetings were granted to certain people who were also significant donors to or partners with the Clinton Foundation, and they leave the inference that people were getting meetings or getting consideration at a minimum for meetings because they were big donors to the foundation.
I mean, I guess I would just once again emphasize that there wasn't a single channel for access to the Secretary of State, then Secretary of State Clinton. And for senior aides in the department at that time to have, to have connections with the Clinton Foundation, which, by the way, was working on, for example, Haiti relief post-earthquake, pretty significant role in that, in fact, only speaks to the fact that, these were important people who had reason to convey information to the secretary. There was nothing that we have seen that implied any kind of untoward relationship.
But my question goes really to the fund. I mean, it's clear in the American domestic political tradition, it is completely explicit. You pay X thousands of dollars and you get to go to a reception with the president or a candidate for the presidency. And, I've been at fundraisers standing on the outside of them where there are different levels of money you cough up, and that governs how much access you get and whether you get a photo with them or not and so on. And so the question I want you to address is, Judicial Watch is leaving this inference there that you pay to the foundation and you get to see the Secretary of State. Can you say, no, that's just not true? That's not how it works?
What I would say is that we have no clear sign that that was the case. We've seen no evidence that that was the case.
Thank you.
Yep, please, I'm sorry, James, go ahead.
That's all right. In a related vein, and I should say to Arshad that in fairness to Judicial Watch, I think their public relations people would be very displeased if the record were allowed to stand, suggesting that they had simply left such things to inference. They make it rather explicit how they feel about it.
I stand corrected.
Fox News has obtained and shared with your office roughly 180 pages of call logs from the office of Cheryl Mills, covering a 2-year period when she was Chief of Staff to Secretary Clinton. As you have seen, the individual who left the greatest number of messages for Ms. Mills in that period of time by an exponential order was Laura Graham, then the Chief Operating Officer for the Clinton Foundation, close to 150 in the 2-year time frame. As you know, this evidence arises at a time when many questions have been raised about whether the Clinton State Department, and specifically Ms. Mills, maintained an appropriate distance from the Clinton Foundation. Can you tell us why Ms. Graham and Ms. Mills were in such close and constant contact?
Well, a couple of things to say about this. First of all, just to step back and address what James is referring to, these are logs that were, in effect, spreadsheets that were maintained by who was then an assistant to Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills to track, as you can imagine, the large volume of incoming calls that she received about a range of issues. And these documents were released through the FOIA process, I think back in April. So it's no surprise, of course, as I think I said to Arshad, that State Department officials are in contact with a range of outside individuals and organizations, including nonprofits, NGOs, and of course think tanks and others. And that's certainly true with Ms. Mills. I would also state, and again, I don't know if I'm inferring from your question. I wouldn't want to do that, but Secretary Clinton's ethics agreement at the time did not preclude other State Department officials from engaging with or having contact with the Clinton Foundation. So you're right. There are these, I guess, approximately 150 messages. I can't give you a readout of every one of those messages, or every one of those calls, rather, and in fact, how many of the calls were returned or connected. All I can say, and I would go back to, again, what I just explained to Arshad is, I would note that the State Department at the time was, and certainly Cheryl Mills individually, was a coordinating hub for U.S. and international efforts to relief efforts in the wake of the 2011 Haiti earthquake. And as I said, Cheryl Mills personally led those efforts throughout her tenure here. And former President Clinton also played a role as a coordinator for relief efforts in his role as the U.S. Special Envoy, or UN Special Envoy for Haiti. Again, I don't want to speculate, but that could well be the reason why there were these calls, simply coordinating on what was one of the premier or most significant foreign relations issues of the time.
On one occasion, Ms. Graham left a message from Ms. Mills referencing, quote, our boss, unquote. Did Ms. Graham and Ms. Mills have the same boss?
I can't speculate as to who they were referring to. I just don't know.
I didn't ask you to do that. I just asked, did they have the same boss?
They did not have the same boss. I can answer that.
With these call logs fresh in mind, can you still assure the American people that the Clinton State Department maintained at all points an appropriate distance from the Clinton Foundation?
Again, we have seen no evidence of any behavior, any relations with the Clinton Foundation that weren't completely above board. And in this case, it's likely that what they were dealing with during many of these calls was the immediate aftermath of the Haiti earthquake.
And finally, since we just touched on Ms. Abedin, some unrelated questions about her. The New York Post has been reporting on the presence of Huma Abedin for more than a decade on the masthead of an Islamic journal that published some fairly vile things, including blaming the U.S. for 9/11, and an article by Ms. Abedin's mother in which she wrote that the, quote, empowerment of women does more harm than benefit, unquote. When Ms. Abedin was cleared to work here in the Department of State, one of the 2 jobs she held down during her tenure here, was Ms. Abedin's association with this journal known to the secretary or to anyone else in this building?
James, I don't have an immediate answer for you on that. I haven't seen these reports, to be honest. What I would say is that we wouldn't normally talk about someone's clearance process, except to say that having gone through security clearance process and considering what the level of clearance she would have needed for the job that she held, I can assure you that she was, like any individual would be, fully vetted. But I can't speak to these specific allegations. I just don't.
The presence of a State Department employee or a prospective employee on the masthead of a journal that is published and disseminated would typically be the kind of thing that those who do the vetting.
All right, we want to bring in Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge. She is live in Washington as we've been monitoring the State Department briefing today. Catherine, a lot of tough questions and a lot of hesitation from Mark Toner.
Well, that's right, Shannon. Really 3 major takeaways. One, we've got these newly released emails from Judicial Watch that relate to Clinton aide Huma Abedin. She has been the focus of a congressional investigation because she wore multiple hats when she was at the State Department, a State Department employee, also an employee for the Clinton Foundation, and then also this Clinton-aligned consulting group called Teneo. And the question is whether this has been a conflict of interest. So we got to some of that at the briefing. The second is about the Clinton Foundation and whether one could draw the conclusion that when the Crown Prince of Bahrain gives a $32 million donation to the Clinton Foundation, this really paved the way for an in-person meeting with Secretary of State Clinton. The State Department spokesman Mark Toner just said that they did not see evidence of that being the case, though. One has to wonder what evidence they would need to reach that conclusion at the State Department, because unfortunately, one of the things that we have seen in our ongoing reporting is that the State Department has not been sort of a neutral arbiter of the facts always when it comes to the Clinton emails and the foundation. They've really almost become her defender-in-chief in many respects.
All right, Catherine Herridge reporting live on what we are seeing out of the State Department now. We are going to get reaction now with Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who is joining us now in studio, chairman of the Oversight Committee. What do you make of these new revelations and the tough time that Toner is having in trying to answer these questions about unearthed emails we haven't seen before, emails suggesting that the access to the Secretary of State was through the Clinton Foundation, and by the way, allegations that she and the Clinton Foundation are denying?
Well, he can't definitively define something because he's left in the dark. And look, when this originally started, Hillary Clinton created this system and this relationship with herself, something that the Inspector General found so problematic that he referred the matter to the FBI for criminal investigation. And so he's left not being able to definitively defend her or tell the American people that the State Department assets, the assets of the United States of America, were not commingled with both the Clinton Foundation and who knows what else.
Okay, now to the issue of the FBI. You have authored a letter with Congressman Goodlatte of the Judiciary Committee asking and pointing out FBI Director James Comey's statements against Mrs. Clinton's statements and saying there are factual discrepancies and asking whether a perjury investigation will be initiated. You address that to the U.S. Attorney in D.C. Where's it going to go? Anywhere? Is it a waste of time? As supporters of Mrs. Clinton say, it's a witch hunt that wastes government time and resources. It
was pretty stunning that the FBI director came before the members of the House and said that during their year-long investigation of the lies and what was going on with Hillary Clinton's emails, that they never looked at Hillary Clinton's testimony under oath. I mean, that was pretty stunning. It's public record. You raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but the FBI didn't look at that. So evidently they needed a permission slip from Congress, which we've now given them, and we expect them to follow up on that, because clearly what she said under oath and what she did are two totally different things. To me, that's lying and misleading to Congress.
Is there any sort of timeline on that, or when do you expect that you'll get a reply about whether
Sooner
it's
rather than later. What the FBI gave us on Tuesday was in a secret format down in the SCIF, the Secure Communication Facility there in the House of Representatives, are the 302s, the background information, but chock full of redactions. Even I, as the chairman of the Oversight Committee, there's so much classified information there, something that's so sensitive that I can't even look at it. I don't even have the high enough security clearance. At the same time, Hillary Clinton's still telling that everybody that, there were no emails that I sent, no emails that I received that contain classified information.
Well, her camp keeps saying if the Justice Department's going to release it at all, they want it to go to everybody, including me, average person with no national security clearance. Would it be helpful? Are you saying that what they're producing is so redacted that it wouldn't really make sense to the average person?
It is terribly irresponsible for Hillary Clinton to suggest that everything should be released, because it puts people's lives in danger. She still doesn't get it. What we're asking the FBI in a letter today to do is create an unclassified version and then release that to the public. That, to me, it's available on the Freedom of Information Act. Let's go ahead and get that out there sooner rather than later. And if it's true that the Hillary Clinton campaign and she personally wants that information out there, then let's do it responsibly, not do it the way she wants to do it, which is just release everything. That puts people's lives in danger.
Well, some people question whether they really do want the full release. We'll see. I want to talk through at least a couple of these emails that are surfacing today. The Judicial Watch as a portion of their work. We have Doug Band, obviously a very close confidant of President Clinton, helped him form the Clinton Global Initiative connected to the Clinton Foundation, sending an email to Huma Abedin saying CP, meaning Crown Prince, we believe, of Bahrain, in tomorrow to Friday, asking to see her, good friend of ours. And then he asked to see HRC Thursday and Friday through normal channels. I asked, and she said she doesn't want to commit to anything. Longer that continues on there. Then Huma Abedin at some point responds and says, offering him tomorrow for a meeting with HRC. If you see, let him know. We have reached out through official channels. And apparently the story goes, when they reached out through official channels, they couldn't get to her. When they reached out through the Clinton Foundation channels, they could get to her, and that he'd made a very sizable commitment or donation.
Well, this has happened by the millions of dollars, and that begs the question, and I think it's a legitimate question. They've created this problem, the Clintons did, by having this entity, and now as James Rosen is reporting through the good work of Judicial Watch and others, that here are 150 messages left by the Clinton Foundation to the chief of staff, to Secretary Clinton. I mean, come on, it doesn't take but a third grader to add this up and say, wow, you give tens of millions of dollars through the foundation, then you get the access that you want. I think that's a legitimate question that even the State Department spokesperson, when given an opportunity, could not refute. He
had a tough time with it. But again, through her campaign and the official channels, they're saying there's nothing there, that there is no connection.
And she should have a press conference. She's been 261 days without a press conference. This is what happens when you have a candidate that just hides and doesn't answer questions. That's what happens, is you're left with more and more questions. She needs to have a press conference and let the media ask her.
We would love to. We have a lot of questions. We'd love to see that. Yeah. Chairman, good to see you. Thanks for coming in today.
Shall we play a game?
This is a breaking news alert.
I've got some unbelievable breaking news for you right now. Yes, video showing Bill Clinton raping a 13-year-old girl will plunge the election into chaos. That's according to a claim that has just been levied by the notorious hacking group Anonymous. Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit picked up on it. Yes, shocking video on the horizon. Anonymous says there is video.
anonymous. The entire U.S. presidential election is nearing an explosive crisis over a secretly made Israeli intelligence video recording showing former President Bill Clinton raping a 13-year-old girl that Hillary Clinton has kept hidden from public knowledge, with help from the American propaganda mainstream media. But by her embroiling Donald Trump in her husband's sex crimes now threatens it being released. The video recording of Bill Clinton raping this 13-year-old girl was engineered by Israel's Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations clothing shop network, whose main facilitator is the international money man of mystery, Jeffrey Epstein, and who is now being called the billionaire pedophile who could bring down Hillary Clinton. The clothing shop network was originated in the early 1980s by one of the most secretive billionaires in America named Leslie Wexner, and whose father, Harry Wexner, changed from Hagen Wexelstein, emigrated to the United States in the late 1930s from the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, former Soviet Union. The clothing shop network name itself was derived from Leslie Wexner being one of America's top clothers and who owns the US-based fashion retailers L Brands and Victoria's Secret. In 1982, Wexner recruited Jeffrey Epstein into the clothing shop network by providing him with an estimated $1 billion to establish a private financial firm named J. Epstein and Company, and that Wexner remains the firm's biggest and the only publicly known client. The true purpose of J. Epstein and Company was to allow Jeffrey Epstein to operate within the society circles of America's political elites, and once ensnaring his victims, he allowed them to fulfill their most deviant sexual fantasies, while at the same time secretly video recording them for the purpose of blackmail. Epstein's blackmail victims included many members of Americans and Britain's elites, but with his largest catch being former President Bill Clinton, who was revealed by recently released flight logs revealed to have flown on Epstein's private jet named the Lolita Express to the secluded, sex toyland, Caribbean island run by Epstein 26 times, while ditching his Secret Service protectors, and his failing to notice that this band of sin was wired with hidden cameras secretly recording his orgies with underage girls, with Bill Clinton's having had sex with young girls, and Hillary Clinton being advised by the clothing shop network that they had the secretly recorded videos proving it. She then masterminded a plot to set up Donald Trump as a straw man to be her opponent, and as emails prove, and was aided in this effort by America's mainstream media, who gave to the New York City billionaire builder an estimated $3 billion in free media advertising, so that he could become the Republican Party candidate for president. The Hillary Clinton email proving this plot shows her and her accomplices conspiring to set up Donald Trump as their Pied Piper candidate, with some of them suggesting that Senator Ted Cruz or Dr. Ben Carson could, likewise, be set up too. Why Hillary Clinton and her accomplices selected Donald Trump to be their strawman Pied Piper was due to his knowing Jeffrey Epstein too, but who, unlike Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and others who engaged in sex with young girls on Orgy Island, never committed these grave crimes, and as attested by Miami police detective Mike Fiston, who investigated Epstein's many crimes and stated that in hundreds of interviews with hundreds of witnesses, no one has ever identified Trump as being involved in any kind of sexual activity with underage girls. In fact, Detective Fiston recalls learning in the early 2000s that members of Trump's private Palm Beach club, Mar-a-Lago, complained that Epstein was often accompanied by very young girls, a different girl every week, each of whom he would refer to as his niece, with Hillary Clinton and her accomplices believing they had neutralized Donald Trump by his merely knowing Epstein. However, and their further belief that the avalanche of scandals surrounding Trump would cause his campaign to collapse upon itself, this New York City billionaire, instead, has defied all normal logic and is nearing winning the U.S. presidency. In a last-chance bid to destroy Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton and her accomplices have now paid off a number of Bill Clinton's rape victims to change their story, saying that Trump had raped them, the details of which are contained in a U.S. federal court filing making these absurd allegations, with Hillary Clinton having already proven she will kill to protect the public from knowing of her husband's crimes against young girls, and from the next event in this most dangerous of games will be determined by clothing shop network. And if the past is a predictor of the future, knowing how the Israelis work to keep their nation safe, someone will surely die before this plays itself out. We are anonymous.
They've made the claim in a video. They say it will plunge the presidential race into chaos. They state the video will be released. Now, according to Anonymous, the video was recorded by Israeli intelligence as part of something called the Clothing Shop Network, which is the name of the pedophile ring that Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton frequent. The recording was made secretly for exclusive blackmail reasons only. Now, they state here, as we know, Bill Clinton was a frequent flyer on the registered sex offender's infamous Lolita Express jet. Now, we've reported here months ago that flight logs prove that the former president took at least 26 trips aboard the Lolita Express, and on some of those occasions even ditching his Secret Service detail for 5 flights. Now, it is believed that on that very plane there was a room inside that jet that he could have his way with the underage girls on the plane. Now, Anonymous has come out and said that there is, in fact, video of Bill Clinton raping a 13-year-old girl, not just on the plane, but on the island. Radar Online has also reported that an attorney did admit to the, quote, possibility that Bill Clinton took part in the orgy island, in the romps there. They say Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, these are their words, is about to be rocked by yet another bombshell thanks to her horn dog husband, Bill. They learned that the high-power attorney, Alan Dershowitz, acknowledged in a sworn deposition that he cannot rule out the possibility of the former president taking part in a depraved romp with underage girls on pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's orgy island. They state here that the alleged sex slave, Virginia Roberts, first accused Clinton of visiting Epstein's notorious island in a recent court case. So now the bombshell is about to drop, and if this actually happens, if this comes out, and the claims that Anonymous has made are true, this could have a absolutely devastating effect on the campaign. I mean, it would destroy it completely. Okay, so if you think about, you've got what? You've got an 11-year-old recording of Trump making some off-color remarks about women. But to actually have video footage of a former president raping a 13-year-old girl in what he believed to be a secluded island would have devastating effects that this country would, I mean, it would have such devastating effect that it would damage this country, not just the election. So we're going to continue to monitor the channels, the chatter, and seek out if, in fact, this does pan out, if Anonymous does have it. So again, they state they have it recorded by Israeli intelligence, the Clothing Shop Network, pedophile ring, secretly recorded for blackmail for, I guess, a time such as this. What are your thoughts? Do you comment below, subscribe for updates. If you like what we're doing here at the Next News Network, give us a thumbs up, and please share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Hillary Clinton, we are anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Stalemate, or checkmate. You are finished.